Few people embody the spirit of Montrose quite like Frank Feher, a man who rose from humble beginnings to become a beloved teacher, coach, veteran, and pillar of the community. A 1944 Montrose graduate and 2026 Community Service Award recipient, Frank lived out the values of service, humility, and dedication that define Montrose. He was a standout athlete, a respected educator and coach, and one of the most beloved figures to ever walk the halls of Montrose schools. Frank's journey from custodian to respected teacher is one of the most inspiring parts of his life. At banquets, he often opened with a grin. "My name is Frank Ernest Feher. I'll be frank with you. I'll be earnest with you. And you don't need to fear me." Born in 1927 in Orwell, Ohio, to Frank and Elizabeth Feher, Frank entered the world weighing just 4 pounds, small enough to fit in a shoebox. Yet he grew into a man of remarkable strength and character. His early years were shaped by the Great Depression. A move to Montrose when his father took a job with General Motors, the hard work of a family farm near Fear Drive and Carl Ann Street, and a home where only Hungarian was spoken. After helping set up the family's produce stand at the Flint Farmers Market, Frank would treat himself to a 10-cent coney dog from Flint, Coney Island. One day, 2 Hungarian women tried to bargain for a lower price, assuming he didn't understand them, until he answered back in perfect Hungarian. By first grade, Frank had mastered English, with the help of a caring teacher. At Montrose High School, Frank excelled in football, basketball, and baseball. When the basketball coach left for military service, Superintendent William Carter asked Frank, still a student, to help coach the varsity team. He delivered, scoring 26 points in the Saginaw District Tournament and guiding his teammates with maturity beyond his years. Frank's proud parents, his sister Ann, and a brother Ray, who was 10 years younger, celebrated his graduation from Montrose High School in 1944, during World War II. When the world called, Corporal Frank Feher answered. Stationed in Switzerland, he served his country while manning the ice cream parlor and liquor station, and of course, playing football and basketball for the Army. 2 months after World War II ended, halfback Frank Feher helped lead the 222nd Infantry to a championship victory in Vienna, Austria. After his discharge in 1946, Frank hoped to enroll at Michigan State University, but post-war enrollment quotas kept him out. Instead, he went to work for the GM Buick plant in Flint, where he spent the next 10 years, and where he met the love of his life, Betty Lou Rock. A simple hello as she walked to school on Pasadena Avenue became a lifetime of devotion. They were married on June 17, 1950, and later built their forever home on Fear Drive, where Betty still resides. They proudly purchased their first new car, a white and teal 1957 Chevy, a milestone they cherished. In 1956, Frank began working as a custodian at Montrose schools, sweeping floors, fixing boilers, keeping the lights on for 8 years. But Superintendent McCloy saw something more in him, a teacher waiting to emerge. He embraced the challenge. It took courage to return to school, and the journey wasn't easy. He failed one of his first college courses, but he persevered. He returned, rebuilt his confidence at Flint Junior College, and eventually went full-time, which meant leaving his custodial job. Together, Frank and Betty made financial sacrifices. With 3 children and bills to pay, Betty went to work for the first time at the Montrose State Bank, where she remained for 31 years. Frank transferred to Central Michigan University, commuting home on weekends for 2 years. Through long drives, tight finances, and the weight of a young family, he pushed forward, and in 1966 proudly earned his degree in industrial arts. His story was so remarkable that a local newspaper featured him under the headline, "School Janitor Chose to Teach, Not Sweep." The local barber, Bob Staley, gave Frank and his two sons free haircuts for an entire year while Frank finished his classes. A kindness Frank never forgot, and one he later repaid as the two men built a deep mutual respect. Frank continued his education, earning his master's degree in 1970. He taught 1 year at Beecher before returning to Montrose, where he taught drafting and woodworking for almost 2 decades from 1966 until he retired in 1985. He also served as president of the Montrose Education Association and as head negotiator his last 3 years. Frank celebrated the school's biggest victories with his fellow coaches. He became a dedicated coach, influencing generations of young athletes, including his own sons, while coaching freshman football and varsity baseball for 12 years each. He pitched to Frank Jr. at age 3 and later coached him as a standout varsity player. His youngest son, Kenny, remembers one practice vividly. I reared back and threw as hard as I could and hit Dad right in the ankle. He fell hard, and the whole team froze. Then Dad started laughing and said, "Well, I can't hit your pitches if you hit me. Practice is over." Frank served as class sponsor for 12 years for the classes of 1971, 75, and 1982. Mr. Feher was known for his bow tie, buzz cut, and warm conversations with students as they walked the halls between classes. He learned their names, their interests, and became a steady, uplifting presence to countless students who soaked up his goodness. Rod Studaker, a young teacher, had this to say.
Frank Feher was one of the two teachers that I noticed early in my teaching career as a teacher who treated his students with respect, and I recognized that he was highly regarded by students and colleagues, so I used him and Dale Tiedoff as someone I would try to learn from and pattern my approach to being a teacher. I also remember we had a senior faculty basketball game my first year of teaching, and I was amazed how good Frank was. He must have been in his 40s, I think, by then. And he had an old-fashioned two-hand push shot from the chest that he took, and he never missed. Later, he took an interest in the freshman, JV, and even the varsity teams that I coached over the years. We had some nice discussions, and I valued his input. He gave me good advice, not only on strategy of the game, but more importantly, about how to deal with young athletes. Frank Feher was a good man. I really looked up to him.
Frank wasn't just a teacher. He was an involved community handyman, a volunteer fireman and assistant fire chief, a 50-year member of the Masonic Lodge, and a member of the American Legion. He was also the nursing home Santa Claus until his daughter Sandy recognized his shoes. He was a fun dad with a sense of humor who blessed his family with many memories. Frank and Betty raised 3 children. Frank Jr., class of 1969, Sandy, class of 1971, and Kenny, class of 1975. Frank Jr. is married to Kathy. Sandy married Larry Grisham, and Ken is engaged to Heidi. They welcomed 6 grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren. Frank and Betty spent summers boating and fishing at their cottage on Hubbard Lake and teaching their grandkids how to fillet fish. After retiring, they enjoyed their winters in Lakeland, Florida, close to Tiger Town, where Frank could watch his beloved Detroit Tigers during spring training. On April 10, 2008, Montrose lost a hero. But Frank's legacy, his kindness, his humor, his unwavering integrity, lives on in every life he touched. Corporal Frank Ernest Feher was laid to rest with military honors at the Montrose Cemetery in the town he loved and served. This year, we honor the man who never sought the spotlight, but earned it every single day. He took pride in becoming an educator. We remember his bow tie, his buzz cut, his grit, and a heart big enough to fill the entire school. Please help us welcome Frank Ernest Feher into the Montrose Sports and Community Hall of Fame, class of 2026, with the Community Service Award.